starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the first ever Champions Belt Club podcast. I'm here tonight with my brother from another mother, Tony T, and we really want to welcome. Thank you guys, and we hope you enjoy the show. And we're here to have fun and talk wrestling and belts and collecting.
Wrestling and belts and collecting. I thought this was politics.
Shit. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Doing great.
Stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. What's up?
Thanks for doing this and starting this off. And
oh, my pleasure, man.
You know, it's been a fun couple of days getting this ready to go, and I hope the people watching enjoy what we have.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, where do you want to start tonight, man? Where do you want to go? Should we start with a little wrestling news and sort of talk a little wrestling right now?
Let's start with the wrestling news and talking about some wrestling. Yes, let's do that.
Let's do it. So just going to start here. We have a little segment that we're going to use every week, which we like to call it Dirt Sheets and Draws. So a little bit of current news, current wrestling, and what's going on in the world right now. Hey, guys. Hey, man up. How you doing, guys? Hey, Cedric, Facebook user, if you just sort of click SteamYard and give it permission to see you, we'll be able to actually see who you are. Right now, you're just coming up as Facebook user, but we really appreciate you guys being here with us tonight.
How do you see who's watching? That's awesome.
So if you click on comments over on the far right side of the page there, you can actually see everybody chatting with us.
Comments? No, I can't see it. I don't know where that is.
Far right side of your screen. Up on the far right side bar. Should be up there.
Maybe I have to exit full screen here. I don't know. What have I done? Oh, yeah. There they are. Hey.
There you go.
What's up? Cedric, Matt up. Oh, and Cedric's watching on YouTube. That's awesome. Matt is watching on Facebook.
Yes, we love seeing people on YouTube already. Thanks very much for being on there, Cedric. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Bravo. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So the big hot topic this week, of course, is the WWE draft that's going on currently. That's one of the big points of conversation. I do have a few graphics here that we can pull up. So as of tonight, pre-Raw, these are the current draftings. Let me just pull down our banner there. So these are our current draftings for the Raw brand as of this weekend or as of yesterday. We have Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Imperium, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, The Miz, Shinsuke, Indy Hartwell, Apollo, Candice LeRae, Chelsea Green, and Sonya Deville, Dexter Lumis, JD McDonough, Natalia, the Viking Raiders, Zoe Stark, and Maxim Male Models. That is who we have so far drafted to the Raw brand. Any interesting storylines there, you think, Tony?
Well, for me, the one that I think a lot of people have been talking about is Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and now they're on two different shows.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how they're gonna do that, but yeah, no, I like Drew McIntyre a lot. So, and I've always been more. I don't know about you. I've always enjoyed Raw more than SmackDown. I don't know why. I just have.
It's shifted for me, I think, depending on the time. Like there's been
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with the roster they have at the time. So it's kind of I tend to gravitate more towards the technical wrestlers and the high work rates. So so it kind of depends sort of who's where and when, I guess, for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've always been biased to Raw and always been biased to the WWE. So
yeah.
Except for recently, I've been enjoying AEW, but sorry, not recently, but probably for the couple of years ago, and then it's kind of lost me a little bit. But anyways, we'll talk about that another night, I'm sure.
We will. We'll get to that probably probably sometime later tonight, even maybe. All right, and then we have, of course, the SmackDown roster so far. I suspect this is going to get filled out quite a bit tonight on Raw. But we currently have the Bloodline, Roman, and they very specifically said Roman Reigns. Thanks, Man Up. Thanks for coming, buddy. We've got Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman. No mention of the Usos in that as of yet. Bianca Belair, the Street Profits, Edge, Bobby Lashley, the OC, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Mia Yim. Damage Control, Alba Fire, and Isla Dawn, and then Hit Row. So it's a considerably smaller roster so far on SmackDown, but I'm sure they're going to be adding names to that tonight. So
yeah. What time is Raw on? What channel is Raw on? I don't even know what channel the shows are on anymore.
Well, it's different for us up here in Canada, than it is down in the States where everything's on Peacock. So
yeah, we get it on TSN, or do we get it on Sports up here?
TSN.
Oh, okay. I'll watch tonight after this, perhaps.
Right on.
Perhaps I will, now that we have a show that talks about wrestling.
Might be a good idea. Maybe, I don't know. The Bloodline. So what do you think with the Usos? Do you think their name is coming later, or do you think there's a purpose, an intended split going on there?
I think it's a shame because they have these good things going, and I know they can only go so long with them. But the Bloodline has been the most interesting thing that's going on for a while, and to take the Usos away from it, I just think would be stupid. It's like they had the hottest faction. The hottest thing in wrestling was the Hurt Business, and they just blew it up. They didn't even bother.
But there's something to be said about spreading the rub of that hot story onto both brands. So maybe the Usos are a representative of the Bloodline on the Raw side of things, and maybe they're just trying to sort of spread that focus, over there too. I don't know.
Cedric says Raw is on right now. I thought I thought it was on at 10 our time.
No, I think it's at 9.
Oh, then we're gonna have to watch. We're gonna miss it because I'm here doing this.
That's all right. We'll watch. We'll catch up. We're
competing with Raw. We got 4 viewers.
Man, we're doing all right. Cedric mentions he's curious to see what they'll do with the OC. I am too. I'm kind of interested. I think when you look at this list already, without any other names added to it, the Bloodline lineup and the OC seems like an obvious sort of like faction clash on that side of the brand. So maybe we'll see some of that happening.
Yeah.
So, I'd love to see Roman work somebody like AJ and work somebody that's a little more technical and a little bit more aerial and not just brawl and big and brawl. So it might be cool. It might be cool to see that. It's always nice to see a fresh look and a fresh group of faces. Oh, yeah, there you go. Cedric says, "No worry, we ain't missing nothing." There you go.
Thank you, Cedric. If I was smart enough, I have 2 TVs in this room, but neither are hooked up to cable.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming. That's coming now. That's the next thing.
Yeah, have it on in the background. We can do our podcast and lose our minds alive. Anyways, I get distracted easy.
No. So the next bit of news that's been popular, of course, throughout the belt community and in wrestling, of course, is the announcement of the new WWE
Yeah.
World Heavyweight Championship, which is getting mixed reviews across the hobby. Some people absolutely love this belt,
Yeah.
some people really don't like it. What do you think?
Well, so I think one of the funny things is whenever something new pops out, people are really reluctant to change, right? As you
Mm.
know.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And when I first saw the belt, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." It's like it's definitely better than what they've done, what they're doing right now with the network logo belts. And I actually just bought my own network logo belts, and I actually think they're nicer in person than they are on when you actually have them on TV. But this
Mm.
belt, once I saw the details of the two rampant lions on the sides, the lion's head at the bottom, which reminded me of New Japan, the eagle and the crown, the texture of it, I really started to like it. And as you and I were talking earlier today, before the show, like this morning, I think it's my favorite belt they've had in a long, long time.
Mm.
I love the homage to the big gold, how it has that sort of look.
Hmm.
And I just think Triple H, if he had his hand in this, I think he did a hell of a job. I really do.
There you go. Thumbs up from Tony. All right. I like the belt. I've got a couple of problems with the look of it in that I'm not a big fan of the gems in the eyes of the lion. That makes it looks like they're getting an enema. Uh, they look shocked.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a good look. I hope that they get rid of that eventually. It's a little one color in terms of look. I almost wonder if the base plating were silver or nickel, and if it was sort of a dual plated and had the all the 3D textures gold and had the
yeah,
silver underneath it, if that wouldn't pop a little bit more. And
yeah,
maybe some different colored gems it could maybe use with all the white gems. It's a little washed out.
yeah,
I think the logo is probably a lot to do with Endeavor. I think this might even be the new logo for the WWE going forward, because they're certainly going to be wanting to do some rebranding as they move forward
yeah,
under this new umbrella of WWE Endeavor. So I imagine that has a lot to do with that. But a little color maybe wouldn't hurt too badly. In terms of a compromise between sort of an older style, more trophy looking belt and the sort of the brand sort of heavy sort of belts that we've had over the last so many years, I think it's a pretty good compromise. I'm pretty happy with it. I know that those side plates aren't going anywheres. There's just too much money in that
yeah,
for the company. They make a lot of money off those nameplates on the side, so I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon on any of the belts.
yeah,
So I think it's this belt is doing a really pretty good job of checking off a lot of boxes for a lot of different people.
yeah,
I like the lion's head on the bottom. I think it's a nice nod to it reminds us of New Japan Pro Wrestling and the IWGP belts, IWGP. And then I also like that the eagle's back on the belt. I think I'm not sure, but I think this might be the first belt since the unified title that's had an eagle on the belt for WWE since then. So it's nice to see that coming back. And I like the lions. I like the look of it. I just wish the eyes didn't have those gems on them, but otherwise I
yeah,
like it quite a bit.
yeah. Like I said, I love it. I do. I love it.
Yeah.
It's
So
it's but I could see I totally see your points and what you're saying and how those things. And yeah, I didn't think of an enema, but I thought for sure it looked like the eyes
looks
were.
like something's going where it shouldn't. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. I can't wait. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna probably order it in around maybe before Christmas, maybe in the fall. We'll see. But man, I'm excited to get my hands on this shop version.
The really interesting question in this, I've heard a lot of people talking about the belt itself and the design of it, but actually the lineage question, I think, is actually the
Yeah.
more interesting question coming up. And of
Mm.
course, we'll learn more about this as we progress into the new season and we see the storylines progress. But they haven't really made it clear. So, like, technically, the belt that Roman was carrying along with the Universal title is the lineage belt. That is the world title that dates back to Buddy Rogers
The
and
heavyweight
yeah,
championship. Yes.
the inception of the World Heavyweight Championship for the WWE
Yeah.
began with Buddy Rogers and then has been carried through in all its various iterations of the Big Green and the Bruno, the Big Green, the Winged Eagle, the Big Eagle, and et cetera, right up until the network logo, the black leather network logo. That belt shares that lineage.
Yeah.
So no one has technically beaten Roman for that belt. So technically, Roman still has that belt in terms of storyline and lineage. They're essentially saying that because he's now being moved to SmackDown, and that's not confirmed, he will now be the SmackDown's Universal Champion, and they've announced that this belt will be exclusive to the Raw brand, and that they will essentially put a new person in ownership of it after they go through this tournament or whatever it is that they're about to do. So the question is this the World Championship, or is this its own thing that they're starting essentially from scratch and hitting reset on it? Does the Universal Championship then become the lineage? Because if you think back to how Buddy Rogers started the WWE Championship, he was the NWA champion at the time.
Yeah.
And what they essentially said was, we don't want to be a member of the NWA any longer. We now recognize Buddy Rogers as our current world champion, who is also recognized simultaneously as the NWA champion. He is now the WWF or WWF champion at that time. And that began that lineage for them. So in effect, if Roman is still technically the carrier of the world championship and they dissolve that title and they start this one without any kind of transfer of title, technically Roman is really the new lineage champion, and the universal title then therefore becomes the new lineage title by definition. If we're playing by the same rules we played by back when the WWF started. So it's an interesting thing to see what comes of this, because I don't know if this is really, what we don't know where the lineage will fall in this, and that's kind of an interesting conversation. So
yeah, no, I agree. And like, I've heard a few things, because now you'd mentioned to me earlier today that on the shop that says World Heavyweight Champion.
It does, yeah.
Shop. If you look at the title, it just says World Champion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the words on the two belts that Roman has, one says Universal Champion, one says World Heavyweight Champion.
Right.
So it's like, I think it was,
which was actually the name of the Big Gold in WWE when they transferred ownership from WCW over to WWE. Their version of the Big Gold was referred to as the World Heavyweight Championship, and the lineage belt for the WWE has only ever been really referred to as the World WWE Championship.
Right. Yeah. So but Jim Cornette, it was either Jim Cornette or another show that said, why would they have 3 world titles? Right.
It's interesting. Yeah.
It makes no sense if this is.
Well, there's a couple of visual problems with this, right? Because whoever takes this belt, technically, whoever wins this belt is going to look like a lesser champion than Roman, because Roman was never beaten for his belts.
Yeah.
So if this is meant to be a continuation of the WWE Championship, i.e. the lineage belt, whoever holds this, technically, until they get one over on Roman, technically looks like the weaker champion, whether they intend that to be the case or not, because he hasn't been beaten for it. So it's already trying. Joey's saying we're trying too hard to make sense of nonsense. That's not wrong. But hey, wrestling, right? So like you could say that about a lot of this stuff.
The art of wrestling.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting story, because the way they're presenting it, I'm not sure I understand why they wouldn't let somebody get one over on Roman to at least split the titles and maintain the lineage.
Well, that's what I was wondering when him and Cody met at WrestleMania. And I thought, is this for the heavyweight title? Is this for the universal title? Is this for both titles? Like, what is, like, I don't pay attention at the best of times, but I was confused. Like, I just was like, what is he going for? Like, because he was talking about he was like hinting and like, I'm going to bring the Winged Eagle back, right? Well,
Mhm.
so were you going for the heavyweight title? And then Roman was still going to be Universal Champion? Like, it just, to me, was like, I just didn't get it. Anyways,
Mhm. So this will be something we'll have to sort of stay tuned and sort of see how
yeah.
this plays out. Obviously, this is no, I don't. It hasn't been clear at all in any of the storylines. The other thing that came up this weekend that was kind of interesting, and I'll just pull this up really quickly, was, and only because of their association within the WWE,
Yeah.
Trinity Fatu showed up, now named Trinity Fatu, formerly Naomi,
Mm.
showed up on Impact Wrestling, which was really interesting. And again, only because not newsworthy in terms of wrestlers leaving the WWE and going to other promotions, but newsworthy in that her husband is in one of the most popular and certainly the most important storylines in WWE over the past year, certainly a year and a half.
Who's your
So
husband?
her husband is one of the Usos.
Oh, see, shows how much I know.
Yeah, she's married. She's Jimmy, I believe it is. She's married to.
Okay.
So it's what do you think?
Honestly, I, I don't know. I'm, I'll get heat, but I'm not a big. I don't really watch a lot of the women's wrestling. I've just never been a real fan. I'm a, I if there's nothing wrong with it, I think it's great. Like, but I mean, I was excited for some Charlotte Flair matches and Becky Lynch over the past little while, but I just don't follow it at all. I don't.
So
So
not a big women's wrestling fan at all.
I'm such an asshole, but yeah.
No, it's honest. It's cool.
But I think, yeah, I mean, and I've just, because I mean, I come from the era of the steroid, bigger than life, fake, like it was so, oh yeah, so ludicrous. You were waiting to use that, so and like even back then, like whenever, like I can't remember what WrestleMania, there was a WrestleMania that like Wendy Richter wrestled. I didn't watch it. And there was a couple others. It just wasn't my thing. And, I probably, if my girls got into wrestling, then it would be my thing. I'll just say that.
Okay, fair enough.
If they got it,
Have
like,
you tried watching women's wrestling on any other brand other than WWE?
I've watched some AEW stuff. I liked Britt Baker, but
I'd recommend checking out some of the Impact stuff. Honestly, like that division is pretty strong. Like it's a I WWE kind of falls into the trap of sort of using the same people over and over and over and over
yeah,
again. You're going to see the same storylines, but
and
I think if you watched Impact, you'd see a slightly different product.
I will say this, and this isn't gonna, like, I'm not looking for any redemption or anything like that. I mean, I said what I said, but like when you and I went to the local show for UCW, one of the best matches of the night were the two ladies that wrestled to start the show off,
Yeah,
right? And I was like captivated by their work. I thought they were fantastic. So
yeah.
I don't want like to come across it like I hate women's wrestling, or I just don't enjoy it as much as I do watching the men's. It's the same, and I mean, like I said, if my daughters got into it and started watching it, then I probably would pay more attention to it.
That's fair. I mean, it's and everybody has their own tastes and their own preferences. So
Yeah.
I think that's why all these companies exist, because they're
Yeah.
trying to hit as wide a demographic as they can.
I
So
will say this: when I was a kid, I used to watch Glow wrestling. I love Glow, and
well,
it was,
there's a couple of Japanese federations that if you liked Glow, you would really probably enjoy. They're all female federations. There's no
yeah.
male wrestlers in them, but if you enjoyed the Glow wrestling, you probably enjoy some of those.
And
I'll
I
mention
just
them to you.
Glow is, and I even that they made a Netflix series that had Glow where it was like, talking about the '80s and what they were trying to do, and it was just something so
Mhm.
different. And I think it's because, you know, as a kid back in the 1980s, you watched I watched WWF. It was like All Star Wrestling, whatever came on. You'd get NWA once a month. You'd have Stampede Wrestling. But the later you stayed up at night, all of a sudden, like really late, like 1 a.m, Glow Wrestling came on. And here were a bunch of kids who drank, eating pizza and drank a bunch of Coca-Cola, nerding out to women's wrestling. you know,
Right.
and it was just different because you didn't see it. But I think, like you said, the WWE does overuse people way too much, and and the push that they get, like Bianca Belair's push is just like, okay, we get it. Like it just doesn't seem sincere. Like Natalia's a far better wrestler than her, and doesn't get the push that she probably deserves.
Yeah.
You know, and I just don't think Bianca Belair is anything special. And like,
Sorry, guys. I should have had your comments up the whole time. I'm
oh
I'm
crap,
I'm
yeah,
new. I'm new at this whole thing, dude.
there is
So
something interesting for everyone, Cedric. I agree, buddy.
yeah, Cedric, you're bang on, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
just the times that we're in. You can't. If you dislike something, you got to be very careful.
Yeah.
You get shit on.
Don't have an opinion. It's important. It's dangerous. Dangerous to have an opinion, apparently.
Yeah.
Screw that. So moving on. That's sort of the big three things so far this week. I'm sure more's going to come up as we go along.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Trinity storyline. I'm always curious when you see somebody who is married to somebody or in a relationship with somebody in a larger sort of responsibility or larger storyline in a company like WWE, when they make the choice to leave and sort of try to find other options out there in the wrestling world. It speaks a little bit maybe to what's going on backstage, or a little bit about the situation sort of in terms of how they feel their position in the company is, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting to see how that plays out. We've already seen quite a few examples of guys like Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, and others who have kind of gone out into what I call the new territories, which is really an international sort of indie scene, and gone out and sort of made their name on that scene through New Japan, through Ring of Honor, through Impact, and through GCW and other sort of MLW and other brands like that. Sort of gone out and sort of raised their stake, essentially, sort of in terms of viewership and sort of presence, and then come back and renegotiated themselves into better positions in a company like WWE. So we've seen that happen with guys. It'll be interesting to see if Trinity and Monet and people that have gone out that were not happy with the way that they were being booked in WWE, if they can go out and sort of recreate the same success that some of the male wrestlers have had by working this international sort of territory scene, in indie territory scene, that they're sort of following the same map that the other guys have left. So,
well, look at who was it that went to New Japan that was a women's world champion? Sasha Banks, is that right?
Yeah. Who's now known as Monet, I think is her moniker now. So,
and like, no one cared in like when she got the title, no one seemed to really care in New Japan.
Yeah,
like she's not the champ anymore. No one cared. It was like the least. And I think I have heard rumors, she'll show up in AEW, but I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Do you think she'll tie her way into one particular brand, or do you think she'll keep herself a free agent like Matt Cardona or others like that?
You know, I mean, for Matt Cardona, he's done great being the belt collector and working all these other little territories and stuff, because, you know, he must be doing all right for himself to do that. But
I think he's probably one of the hotter commodities on the indie scene right now, and you know, he's playing this belt collector character, and he's walking around with upwards of 12 and 13 belts at a time from these different promotions, and he's over like crazy. So
I know, and people are like tuning in to see what's going on. Like they're like through shows like this, they're like, you know, they want to know what Matt Cardona is up to next and where he's going, and he's hot. You're right, totally.
Yeah. So there's something to it. Certainly, it definitely seems to be working.
Definitely better than his crap gimmick he had in the WWE.
Oh man! All right, I think it might be time to move on to our other segment of the show, which is Belt of the Week, which we are going to feature every week. Tony is going to dig into the vault of his illustrious collection and feature a different belt and maker every week. So I'll give you the floor in just a sec here. There we go. Which is an appropriate intro considering what your computer's sitting on.
Yeah, my Atari XZ video game system box.
You go.
This is like, the funny thing is, like, people will see when they see my new Belty videos, they don't actually know that there's stuff on that wall and like these walls around me. They just see this little section behind me.
Yeah.
This is a full nerd cave full of retro video games and stuff.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that is just a fraction of your collection back
yeah.
there.
So let's show this belt, and I want to give a little story behind this belt. And I've been collecting for over 3 years now. This is one of the first belts I ever got, and it was through Chris Stratton from Muhammad Arham when I first met him. It's the Smoky Mountain title. And when I got this belt, there was some damage done to the leather here, and there was it's separated up here. Anyways, me and Arham struck up a deal, and he said, you know what, your next belts, I'm going to give you a sweet deal on it. I'm going to give you a really good deal. And it turned into a friendship that me and him have had for 3 years now. And I would say a good 70% of my belts come from Muhammad Arham, Hamir belts. So the leather is improved drastically since I got this bad boy 3 years ago. I really liked this belt when I saw it on Jake the Snake Roberts in a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. And I just thought this to me is one of the nicest belts that, never really, it was only around for a couple of years.
And how old is that belt now, Tony?
3 years old.
Those plates look pretty damn impressive for 3 years later.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty good.
There's a few little blemishes on the main plate when I got it, and they've never turned into anything more than that. They've sort of stayed where they're at. So, but yeah, it's definitely better leather now. The plates are good. It is floppy, but it's not the best. It's kind of a beef jerky style leather here for sure. His leather is so good now. Muhammad Arham made this for me. I actually added a few extra gems right here to give it a little more of a pop. But that's the belt of the week. Do you have a graphic you want to put up to show our...
I do. So I'll pull that up right now. So bear with me for a sec. So this is some of the better known champions to have carried the belt. The belt didn't run for very long, actually. It was in play from 1992 to 1995. But it did have quite a few very, very, very well-known champions. On the top left corner there is, of course, Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony, who was one of the gentlemen that probably carried the belt the most often or most frequently during its tenure. Of course, there's Jake the Snake Roberts, as you mentioned there in the bottom left corner. To his right, we have Brad Armstrong, one of my favorite all-time wrestlers, one of the favorite wrestlers of all time. I think he was probably one of the most underrated wrestlers in the bigger promotions. Buddy Landell there in the center and the bottom. Tracy Smothers to his right. Of course, Jerry the King Lawler on the bottom right side. And then Terry Bam Bam Gordy on the top right corner are all pretty well-known champions for that, carrying that strap. Any favorites out of that group? I know you mentioned Jake the Snake Roberts. Hey, Tyler, what's up? How you doing, buddy?
Tyler Dove just showed up. Nice. So out of the people in this poster, Terry Gordy and Jerry the King Lawler, like two absolute legends. Nothing to take away nothing from the others there, but those two guys, like Terry Gordy, the Fabulous Freebirds, WCW, he had the UWF title. He was one of those guys, like, I'm just shocked that he never, like, I know the Freebirds had a brief stint in the WWF and then got fired, I think, due to, like, their drinking, like, their partying lifestyle. They were just a little too wild. I'm not 100% sure on that. I saw Michael Hayes thing talking about that. But, yeah, no. And then Jerry Lawler, like, the guy's a legend. So, Thank you, Tyler. It is a nice belt. It's one of my early ones, and
this is essentially what's got the whole ball rolling, really, for you, right? In terms of collecting and belt hobby.
It was my first belt from an overseas maker.
Yes.
So my very first belt is just we'll do. You know what? We're gonna do a belt of the week. We'll do it on the first belt I got. But I got it for Father's Day, and it was off of Amazon, and it was only like $120. And I think it's about 1 millimeter thick. It is like it could give you a paper cut. And it was a winged eagle, and I got it for Father's Day, and it was the start of this very expensive hobby.
Oh my God!
And I got a couple others. I bought a couple others off eBay and Amazon, and before I found the Facebook groups, my first belts were all brass.
Uh-huh.
I have a UWF title, an NWA Dome Globe, and the UWF I knew nothing about. I just liked the look of the belt, so it was like $140 on eBay, I think. And the leather actually is one of the nicest leathers ever. So
that's the irony of it, isn't it? Oftentimes you get those eBay belts, and it's a half-inch thick plate or a 1 millimeter plate, but it's like the best leather you've ever seen.
It's nicer than the leather on my jacket.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah. They're good. What we'll do, we could do maybe one week we'll do a segment on brass belts, because I have a couple brass ones.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was.
Let's do it.
Hey, that is legitness.
That is legitness. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. Glad our wives love us. Some of our wives love us more than others, and some less. So
yeah, Tyler, I don't know. Like, my wife's seen me sell belts and seen the amount of that have come in and that I have, and
there are questions. There are definitely questions.
Oh, there's a lot of questions. I'm very blessed, very lucky, and I have a decent job that it allows me to do it. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you to Tony's job for providing us with these belt days.
Yeah, my kids are fed. We have school tuition set aside for them. Like, we're not just blowing their it's like we are like, yeah. So it's all good, folks.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
it like 8 times a year.
Yeah, they get new clothes. They get taken care of. You should see what's like.
Yeah. I've seen his kids. They're fed. I promise. Yeah. I can.
My kids fat?
No, not at all. No.
I'm joking.
They're well fed. They're well fed though.
Yeah, but no, it's it's true, right? Even like the video game collection. When I was collecting this shit, she was like, "Oh, you'll never sell it. You'll never sell it." Like, this is gonna go up in value. It's worth money. Blah blah blah. One day, we were living in this house, in this very room I'm in. She came down. I said, "Come down to my video game room here." And I said, I just sold 10 grand worth. I laid $10,000 out in front of her, right? And she looked and she's like, "What did you sell exactly?" Because there's shit everywhere, right? So I said, and then we just basically said, "Don't ever knock me with my hobbies again."
There you go. The man with the plan.
Yeah, no, it's all Sarah. She's good. She's great. So.
Awesome. Shout out to Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Sarah.
She's definitely not watching.
Right on. All right. So, guys, we're going to move into our next segment. I thought, since quiz is a big part of our group, kind of part of the culture of the group, I thought I'd throw in a little quiz every week live in this podcast. So it is this time. So this is a version of the Who's Behind the Curtain that we often play here in Champions Belt Club. I give you a list of championships that this particular wrestler is known for winning, and y'all in the comments tell me who you think it is. I'll give you a very clear timer here. We're going to do our little version of Jeopardy.
God bless Alex.
God bless Alex Trebek.
We have a winner.
My man Cedric coming through in the comments. Cedric answered Hulk Hogan.
You are correct.
What do you think, Tony?
Oh, I know. Yeah, we know who it is. Ooh, the Hulkster.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm doing botch, but anyways, yeah.
There we go. So yes, of course, he is known for winning the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship, the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight, North and South Division, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. I think that's the biggest giveaway for most people, is that version 1. He was the very first inaugural IWGP Heavyweight Champion. The WWF WWE World Championship, of course, for many times. WCW World Heavyweight is another giveaway as well. And then, of course, he won the WWE Tag Team Championship with Edge. Absolutely. So let's pull that back. Excellent. So it's actually time to move on to our next segment, which is a little something we like to call all right.
Oh,
so Tony, we can see behind you there a treasure trove of LJN figures and collectibles. You want to sort of walk us through?
So it's the perfect segue to go from the trivia question to the iconic wrestling figure that is Hulk Hogan. Now, this is what we got when we were kids back in 1980. Was it 3 or 4? 80, oh, hang on. 1984. This belt wasn't what he came with. So this is the Hogan we got, right? Not the Hogan we wanted, but the Hogan we got with the bended legs like he was having a poop.
Yeah. I remember it well.
So later they came out with 2 different versions. They came out with the red and yellow Hogan,
right? With the muscle, with the tank top.
Yeah, and this was very collectible. This was these are what they looked like before any modifications were made. And there was the white shirt Hogan, which was my brother had this one. We didn't actually have the other one. Our neighbor did. But this was the Hogan we used when we played as kids. So what I've done is I've actually taken a beater and created a shirtless in the ring, no headband. This one, the mouth was beat up, so I dremeled it down and made a in-ring Hulk Hogan. I even detailed the boots. See his
Whoa, nice work.
Yeah. And another one where it was hand-painted, where he's wearing the all yellow, and I painted Hulk Rules on his shirt. That's why it's a bit messy.
Sweet.
There too. So I created 2 of the, 2 different Hulk Hogans. So back to the original. What I've done now, guys, this is crazy. I've created a couple of my own Hulk Hogans because I'm a huge fan. And there was one toy when we were kids, Jesse the Body Ventura. He came in a couple different ones. This one's got the brown mustache. This has got the yellow. So when we were kids.
So did they weigh differently? Like there was a brown version and a blonde version?
The mustache is brown there, and this one's
yeah.
So then there's actually one where all his hair is brown, like the mustache hair. His hair is brown, everything. So this cool. Jesse Ventura, when we were kids, like Jesse was doing Predator. He was doing acting. He wasn't wrestling, right? It was cool that they made the figure, but he looked so much like Hulk Hogan, we thought. They both were big fans of Superstar
Billy Graham. Yeah.
So I created my own Hulk Hogan.
Oh, nice!
Yeah,
wow.
And he's wearing the V2 version of the Undisputed title.
Right. So this would have been his comeback to WWE after leaving WCW.
Yeah, and then I had to do the NWO version.
Oh yeah.
With the lightning bolts on the sides,
nice.
All hand decals. So this to me looks like this looks like Hogan. Like it looks perfect, right? So what I did was with the generic Hogan here, I'm going to show you that. If you guys have seen my Twitter feed, I made a video where it shows all the different versions of this Hulk Hogan. Okay, I'm going to start showing you them. So the very first was the Incredible Hulk Hogan when he was a heel with Classy Freddie Blassie. I even did the chest hair.
Nice.
So that's that one.
So this is pre-Hulkamania, of course.
Very pre-Hulkamania.
Yeah.
Then I tried to make the New Japan belt. I did the New Japan Hogan.
Oh, the IWGP, the V1. Yeah.
I tried. It was just a generic belt, and I just wrote IWGP on it.
Right on.
But it's not. It's the imagination, folks. That's what we did in the 80s, and I still carry that through to today. So the silver boots, red knee pads, and the black trunks that he wore. He actually had, I didn't do it, he had some Japanese written on them. So that's this one.
Right
Then
on.
Hogan comes to the WWF and he wins the title, the big green, which is what he came with when we were kids. But I have the second belt he had, the Hogan 84. So he wore tights like this, and he had this sort of outfit when he went and wrestled prior to WrestleMania 1, when he was in the match against Big John Studd and the $10,000 body slam match. Right? And he didn't slam him, and Andre did at WrestleMania, right? So that was one phase of Hulk Hogan.
Where do the title belts come from for those figures? Are they something you make, or are they something you
these
buy?
are all
Or?
Jack's belts, I believe they're called.
Oh, Jack's belts. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So then now we're full-fledged Hulkamania here. He's got the Hogan 86 belt, or no, the Winged Eagle. Next version of Hogan, we have him go to the WCW, just wearing the plain red tights, big gold belts, like he did when he first showed up there. No stubble.
Right on.
Now we're gonna. I got a couple more left. Then we'll go to our next segment. But here we are.
No, take your time, man. This is awesome.
NWO version of Hogan.
Right on.
All freehand painted. I did the NWO on the belts. I did the beard on him.
Got the stubble. Got all of it.
Yeah. So, and I'm proud of this one. This is one of my better ones. This was a real beater that I painted and did this too, right? So then we have him come back. And this one, actually, if you look, is the V1 title. Nice and small compared to the other one.
Yeah.
I could show, it's buried under the other Hogans. So I did this, this Hogan here. And then finally, my last Hogan, the Patriot.
The Patriot. Yeah. Right on, man.
Took a couple beaters, painted them, fixed them up. It's got a little bit of stubble, this one. Not much, but there you go. That's a lot of Hulk Hogan's.
That is pretty epic, man. You pretty much got his whole career covered.
Yeah, he's the reason I wanted to become a wrestler. He's the reason I am a wrestler. Well, I'm not a wrestler. I'm in training. But it's all about, Hulk Hogan. I mean, obviously Bret Hart, I'm wearing his hoodie. Ultimate Warrior, two others I really love. There's a few others. Like, I got a list. But they're the main three for me: Hogan, Warrior, and Bret Hart. But Hogan is the Babe Ruth, the Michael Jordan, the Wayne Gretzky, the Beatles. It's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. It's actually cool that you brought up the wrestler training. I don't know if a lot of people in the group know that. I know a few people know that you are actually in the process of actually. Oh, you have a request. Rip from No Holds Barred.
So I am going to do a rip from No Holds Barred. I just need to I want to get another one of these to it. It just looks really good on this version of Hogan to do a rip. Better than the other one, I believe. I mean, if once I get another beater of the other Hogan, I'll probably do a rip for both. So I will. Cedric, I will do a rip.
So it's on its way, Cedric. We'll when he gets it done, I'm sure he'll show us here in the podcast. So.
Yeah, you were mentioning about my.
I was going to mention, I don't know if everybody knows that you're actually going through the process right now of yourself becoming a professional wrestler, and you're training right now.
Yeah, and I invited you down one day to sort of see what it was like.
I got to come down, and at the school and hang out for an afternoon and sort of meet everybody and sort of see what you're going through. And it's a really, really interesting process you're going through. Yeah,
it's cool because they bring in like the veterans, the people that have graduated. Covey, who's my trainer, was trained by Scott D'Amore, who I believe is the head booker at Impact or runs Impact.
He is the director at Impact now, I believe. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, that's who trained Covey, and Covey trains all of us. And he doesn't matter if you're like me, 6'2", 270, or if you're 5'2". He teaches us all lucha libre style. There's a few different styles he mixes in, but it's very, very athletic. The cardio is insane. It's good. It's good. He really knows his stuff. Each student is brought along individually at their own pace. There's no you have to be a wrestler in a certain amount of time. If it takes me 2 years till I get a match, it takes me 2 years. If you joined and it took you 2 months, it would take you 2 months. It's all on the individual. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And I've been to a couple of the promotion, because he also runs a promotion outside of the school as well. And I've been to quite a few of their live shows, and it's an excellent
it's the best venue I've been
promotion. Yeah.
for
So
for any
they do.
thing I've ever seen. I really like their venue. I like the production quality they have.
Yeah.
I do also. There's something to be said about, like, I really enjoy the UCW shows that I've been to as well, and the crowds there. I mean, it sucked the heat didn't work last time, but I mean, that's not their fault. That it is. What
No, that's a venue issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's interesting is going forward on the podcast here, what we're planning to do going forward is actually to start interviewing, having local indie wrestlers on the podcast from our area, or our neck of the woods here in Nova Scotia in Canada. And we're going to start having these folks on to interview and talk about wrestling in the independents nowadays, and what it's like to be a wrestler nowadays, and what it's like to go through the training and the road time and the ring work, and where they think the psychology of wrestling is right now, and where they think it's kind of going in the future, and things like that. So some interesting sort of background and interesting behind the scenes perspectives.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it'll be great. So, Seth, have you taken your first bump? Oh, yeah. I actually started training 2 years ago at a different facility, a different school here in Nova Scotia. And I got hurt, didn't finish the training. This other place is closer to home, and it's been good. Yeah, I've had a few back bumps. I've done front bumps. I've taken body slams. I've been suplexed. I've been you name it. I've had it done to me pretty much so far. So.
And that's just his wife, folks.
Yeah. That is awesome. Your quick wit. That's so good.
So it's going to be an interesting sort of going forward with this show. We're going to be doing some interviews coming forward, and we're going to be having some guests join us in the coming weeks and months. I know that I'm really excited to have our friend Cedric, who's here, been talking us up in the comments here, and Joey and Man Up, at our friends over at the Bells and Belts podcast, and others in the hobby as well. We're going to be sort of hoping to feature and sort of have on here to join us in conversation and talk about belts and wrestling and all things wrestling related. So that's exciting going forward. I also wanted to just mention too, we just recently finished our Friday fantasy booking series here in Champions Belt Club, and it was pretty excited. It was a pretty good turnout every Friday for votes and that, and people seemed to really enjoy themselves. We started that Friday fantasy booking series. Some people may not know. Actually, we featured the top 12 world champions as voted by the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So the top 50, we took the top 50 all-time greatest wrestlers, and we took the top 12 wrestlers off that list, and built the whole tournament kind of around them. Bret Hart ended up winning that tournament, ironically, and
could have been double champion. They were wrong.
He almost could have been. He made it to the bottom. He made it to the finals here with his partner Jim Neidhart, in the tournament. They were the number one seat in the tournament, so there's clearly a lot of fans of Bret Hart in the group, understandably. So we seem to really enjoy the process of sort of deciding who the participants were ourselves. So what I thought I would do going forward for the next tournament is I would offer everybody the option, 5 options actually. So these are the possible options going forward, and I'm going to put this to vote this coming Friday during our usual sort of vote time for Friday Fantasy. Here are the five topics. Top 12 greatest WWE Intercontinental Champions of all time, according to your vote, and then we would create a tournament with those 12 wrestlers. Top 12 greatest Ring of Honor World Champions of all time, according to your votes. The top 12 greatest TNA Impact World Champions of all time, according to your votes. The top 12 greatest NWA World Heavyweight Champions of all time, according to your votes. And then the final option would be the top 12 greatest IWGP Heavyweight Champions of all time, according to your votes. So lots of options there. Oh,
Figure
Cedric
we have
says the
to do
Heart
them all.
Foundation. The Heart Foundation were robbed, Cedric says.
I think we do. I'd like to see the Intercontinental one done next, but you know what? I think it would be nice to do them all eventually.
Yeah, and we'll work our way through, but
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see what people. I think that would really be certainly an interesting tournament.
Yeah.
This last take tournament was really tough because there were a lot of favorites in the tournament.
Yeah.
So every week it felt like you were eliminating one of your favorites. It felt like so. I think the Intercontinental is probably going to feel like that for a lot of people as well.
Well, I think you could see the age demographic too. Like I was noticing during the votes, particularly with the Briscoes and FTR, opposed to like the Bulldogs or the Steiners or whoever.
Yeah.
One of my fellow students was voting for the. I mean, it makes sense. He probably never really got to watch. Well, he wasn't alive when the Bulldogs were wrestling in the WWE.
No,
he's only in his early 20s. So it's just interesting to see that demographic because, we did what the first one was the world champions, right? It wasn't just WWF champions. It was world champions.
Actually, it was greatest wrestlers of all time.
Greatest wrestlers, right? Okay,
yeah,
so
greatest wrestlers of all time. I misspoke and said champions. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's okay. No, so like you could like, how many votes would a guy like superstar Billy Graham get versus a John Cena or Bruno Sammartino versus Roman Reigns?
Yeah, right? Well, we saw it there because we saw like a Shawn Michaels going up against a Bob Backlund. Right. So like it's, generationally, there are probably quite a few people that follow wrestling now that wouldn't really have seen any of Backlund stuff. So
yeah. And Backlund was apparently like he could have wrestled you, like he could wrestle a paper bag and make it look good.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was a legit wrestler, obviously, in terms of like training. Yeah, but he was a shooter too. Like he could actually really wrestle if he wanted to and submit people if he wanted to. So
yeah, that's one of the things actually going back to the training that I've been doing. We actually had a shoot day where Covey was like, "Hey, no punching, no kicking," and he said like, "Take me down." But so me and one of the other students, and then this guy's awesome, Justin. He's hearing impaired. He's completely deaf. I got one ear. He's got no hearing. Right, like his hearing is very, and so we were like, he was kind of confused. So Kobe went down, like, okay, I'm on all fours, try and pin me like you were if you were real wrestling. So I got in there and I hooked him and I tried pulling him over, and he just gassed me, and then he shot me and just took me out like that, right? And I'm a bigger guy than he is, but he knows jujitsu and he knows his technical wrestling for sure. So shooting is no joke.
No, there's that, and I mean, there's of course nowadays in the age of MMA, there's a lot of different versions of submission wrestling and grappling submission. Wrestling itself dates back to the catch as catch can style, which came out of England, and the snake pit, which is famous for turning out quite a few of the famous and better known shooters in the early days of wrestling. And that still circulates. That's still a thing that you can actually go and study and learn. I've been to a few when I lived in the States. Got to go to a few couple of conferences and see. So it can be a nasty thing when somebody knows how to use it. That's for sure.
Yes, it is true.
Cool. So we will put that to the vote this upcoming Friday, and we'll see what everybody says. But I mean, a tournament with the likes of Randy Macho Man Savage or Ricky Steamboat or Bret Hart or Mr. Perfect or whoever's favorite Intercontinental champions make it on the list.
The Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior. And of course, how could I forget?
His IC run was great.
Yeah, was great. It was certainly historic. Honky Tonk Man, who he took it from, some really interesting wrestlers. So that would be an interesting tournament, depending on how people vote. And Rick Rude, of course. So some greats, some real greats.
Tito Santana,
Tom
Morocco, Greg Valentine.
The who's who.
Like I think like it's interesting because you get some guys where it was like to elevate their career, but some of them were given the title as like a thank you, almost like a Greg Valentine was more established prior to coming to WWE, but it was like, here, you know what? Yeah. You're an established guy. I want you to wear the IC title, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a Tito, it was like now it's a chance to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
No, man, I think you're right. So things to look forward to going forward in the group. We hope to make this a weekly thing, so we're going to try to be on here every night, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Central Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, and we hope you guys will join us. We really enjoyed this. I had a great time. Hope you had a good time, buddy.
I had a great time, man. It was fun. We're hanging out, talking about what we love, and just interacting with our friends down south that were commenting away. Really appreciate all that.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, Cedric, and also Tyler and Joey and Man Up and everybody else that was sort of popping in and out through the evening. We really appreciate it. And
absolutely.
Yeah, man. So we'll
click that like and subscribe.
Yeah, click that like and subscribe in YouTube. Join and click the link, and you'll always be able to find us when we're on here. And we'll see you again next week.
See you next Monday, everybody.
Take care, everybody.